The first part of using a studio camera involves understanding how it is mounted. This video will demonstrate the basic functionality of a typical studio pedestal. Some pedestals are made to be portable so they can be transported from location to location. For the purpose of this video, we'll assume the pedestal and its payload are set up and not being transported outside of the studio. The first thing you'll want to do is move your camera close to the desired position for your show. Each of the skid wheels has a foot-operated brake. Use your shoe to apply pressure down to engage the brake. Once the brake is engaged, use your shoe again to press down on the center pop-up lever to release the brake. If you need to move the pedestal, first look at the brake to determine if it can move. There are times when you may want to lock its position down and others where you'll want it to move. Notice each wheel has a cable guard tasked with keeping the cables away from being rolled over and damaging any fiber optics enclosed, in addition to causing a sudden stop in movement when rolling the pedestal. These can be adjusted based on the height of the cable bundle. As a camera operator, you'll want to initially roll your camera to the desired location, and then lock it down to continue finishing its setup. The pedestal has two stages, just like the way most professional tripods have multiple stages to make them higher or lower. What a studio pedestal offers in addition is the ability to smoothly adjust that height on the fly, while supporting extreme amounts of weight. In this case, this configuration can support 44 pounds of equipment mounted on top. Framing your shot may require raising the height of the pedestal. This is a fairly simple task if the center air column is properly pressurized. Over time, however, that column may lose its pressure, so the first thing you'll learn is how to properly pressurize the column. Before you begin to adjust its height, make sure the head mounted on the pedestal has its pan and tilt knobs locked. This is the tilt knob lever, used to tilt the camera up or down, and this is the panning knob lever, used to enable movement from side to side. Make sure both are locked. An easy way to tell if it's in an unlocked state is if the lever points towards the talent or object you'll be aiming the camera at. Remember, the wheels should also have their brakes on. Your pedestal will have a safety catch. This is to prevent the column from rapidly rising, causing harm to either yourself and/or the equipment. It should only be disengaged once a load has been mounted to the head on a pressurized pedestal. The steering ring can be used to restrain the pedestal once the safety catch is released. If it isn't released, make sure the safety catch is released so the pedestal's top column can rise. Set the control valve located by the steering ring to the matching directional picture for pump. Doing this will allow you to pump air into the column. Pump the air column like so. It may take over 100 strokes to fully pressurize the system. If you are using a larger pedestal, you may not be able to pump the strokes like seen here, and you may instead require the assistance of a mechanical pump. It's important to always lift with your knees, especially if the pedestal has a heavy payload on top. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and have someone help you with this process. Once you have pumped air into the column, you'll want to set the control valve to the intermediate position, like this, for about 10 seconds. This allows the pressure to equalize between the pump cylinder and the tank tube. The tank may rise to its fullest extent during this time. Finally, you'll want to set the control valve to the work position. You can always do this to increase the pressure, and if you find it rises too rapidly and wish to release some of the pressure, just set the control valve to bleed to reduce the pressure until the desired amount of force is achieved, then set back to the work position. If you anticipate needing to lock the height of your shot for an extended period of time, that's when you can go ahead and lock the column using the top clamp. For further control over the pedestal's height, you can lock the top clamp and, while using the steering ring, slacken the bottom clamp by rotating it counterclockwise until it's free to move. Then use the steering ring to set the column to the desired height. Tighten the bottom clamp. Now that the height is set, let's return to movement. You already saw how to set the foot brakes. Did you notice there is also a track locking pin by each wheel brake? These pins are spring-loaded and have knobs you can use to lift up, rotate 90 degrees, and drop them down into the wheel assembly, guiding the desired motion. There is no difference between the black and red knobs on the pins other than to indicate which leg is a folding leg for transport when relocating the pedestal off-site. Fixed legs that don't fold have a red knob on their pin. Use these pins to provide additional caster, track, and steering motion. For caster motion, disengage all pins. The pedestal can now be moved freely in any direction. For tracking motion, engage all 3 track locks. This locks the pedestal into moving only forward and backward in a straight line. For steering motion, position the pedestal so that the fixed leg with the red knob is in the direction of travel. Keep the red pin disengaged and the 2 black track locks engaged. Now you can use the pedestal to create a smooth steering motion. Next, let's concentrate on setting up the perfect pan and tilt controls. The first thing you'll want to do is ensure you have perfect balance. But before you do that, there are 2 concepts you need to understand. The first of which was previously covered in this video, and that was the pan and tilt brakes. The head on each studio pedestal will have 2 levers that act as friction brakes for both panning, the side-to-side motion, and tilting, the up and down motion. These are located on the left side of the head. Drag is another aspect of control when creating movement, using just the head. Both the pan and tilt mechanisms incorporate drag adjustment to provide smooth movement. The pan drag adjustment knob is in the rear of the head, and the tilt drag adjustment knob is on the right side. To increase the drag, turn the knob towards a higher value. To decrease the drag, turn the knob towards a lower value. The higher the number, the more resistance you'll feel. Perfect balance is the third concept to understand, and once achieved, it allows you to unlock the tilt brake lever and tilt the head with its payload, and the shot will stay exactly where you aim it no matter the angle. This allows for effortless movement during a show. Perfect balance may be already set for you, but an easy way to check is to unlock the tilt lock lever and aim the camera at an object. Does it stay there? If so, it's properly calibrated. If it starts to move, then an adjustment may be necessary. Begin by releasing the tilt brake. Turn the balance knob counterclockwise until the head falls away from horizontal due to the weight of the camera. Release the side plate clamp lever and slide the camera backwards or forward until it is balanced horizontally. When doing this, make sure the drag is set to 0. Then lock the slide plate lever once it is balanced. Turn the balance knob clockwise until the camera no longer wants to fall away as the head is tilted and released. You may need to do these steps a few times with some trial and error until perfect balance is achieved. Be careful of any low-hanging confidence monitor setup. In some instances, it may be necessary to add weight to the back of the camera system in order to achieve perfect balance. Some heads additionally have a corresponding backlit value indicating the exact level of balance applied, where 0 is minimal. Most studio pedestals have a backlight bubble level that is powered by a battery. Use this as a guide when leveling off your shot, much like you would if operating a tripod with a claw ball in the field. The battery compartment is sometimes under the top section or bottom of the pan and tilt head. To illuminate the bubble, press its backlight button. It will remain lit for approximately 15 seconds. If necessary, you can adjust the handles to make the zoom and focus control more comfortable. Now that you understand how the pedestal works, you are all set to begin using a studio camera.